Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, as of right now, is just a little over 5 months away from its official release date by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. That is all set and ready to end the sequel trilogy and the Skywalker saga itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that by far, one of the main characters that a lot of fans are looking forward to seeing in The Rise of Skywalker is, of course, Mark Hamill's portrayal as the character of Luke Skywalker, the Jedi Master himself, to see exactly how he is going to be utilized in the movie by director J.J. Abrams. And honestly, I really do think that there's going to be a great improvement of how he was used by director Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi. Now, what's really intriguing about all of this is that these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and we have been going over everything related to the character of Luke, and a lot of fans are very interested within this character. Now, what's really interesting about all of this is that, of course, one of the scenes that were ultimately scrapped for The Rise of Skywalker, which would have been amazing, and sadly it was ultimately scrapped and put into the trash can during, of course, the rewrites of Episode 9. Now, it's described that one of the scenes that were planned for the final cut of the film was set to include a very emotional scene that was done by Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. It's described that the scene that was ultimately scrapped from the film and is said to be saved as a deleted scene was described to involve Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, where Luke was said to inform Leia of the terrible news of Ben Solo turning to the dark side and destroying his academy. It was said to be a scene that was shot back in September of 2018, where Hamill would act with green screens where the unused Carrie Fisher footage will be used. It said that the moment involved both Luke and Leia hugging, where Luke was shedding tears, where Leia reassures Luke that it was not his fault, however Snoke's fault, and was said to be a visual representation of Luke's dialogue from Episode 8, where Luke tells Rey, "Leia blames Snoke, but it was me. I failed." The scene was cancelled mainly due to the complex shots of not meshing together well enough to the point, and said another scene was born from this scrapped footage, where Luke teaches Leia through the ways of the Force in the form of a flashback, where both Hamill and Carrie Fisher are de-aged. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, what's really upsetting about this is that this would have been a very powerful moment in The Rise of Skywalker / Episode 9 to really expand the emotion between brother and sister, Luke and Leia, in the Skywalker saga, to show us exactly how Luke and Leia reacted to Ben Solo's turn to the dark side. Now, was this really necessary for the storytelling process in Episode 9? Maybe, maybe not. It all depends on how it was going to be executed. This could have very well been a flashback scene while Luke's Force Ghost was adding in narration, talking to Rey about his life in the past. It could have been something like that. But this whole entire scene was ultimately scrapped and put to the wayside, and was replaced with another scene that I honestly think is a little bit more inspiring, is where Luke Skywalker is said to teach Leia through the ways of the Force, a Luke and Leia training session, if you will, that's said to be taking place some years after the events of Return of the Jedi, where both Luke and Leia are said to be de-aged for that specific sequence. So there is, good and bad news here, but the bad news about Mark Hamill is that, well, this would have been an amazing and emotional scene, having Mark Hamill, getting very teary-eyed and shedding tears, explaining the news of Ben Solo turning to the dark side to his sister Leia, would directly parallel of exactly what happened between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Padme Amidala in Revenge of the Sith, if you guys may recall. That is a direct parallel of what they were trying to do with The Rise of Skywalker, of Obi-Wan delivering the news to Padme, where now it's Luke delivering the news to Leia, and you can see the great mirrors there of what happened between, Episode 9 and, of course, what happened in Episode 3. So, moving on forward, we do know that Mark Hamill worked very hard on this film throughout the month of September. Then after that, he had a large break because he was working on, I believe it was a show called Nightfall, if I'm not mistaken, that led all the way up until, I believe, the new year, where he worked throughout the whole entire month of January and partially in the month of February. And there's actually a lot of word that he's going to be involved in some of the reshoots that are said to be extended all the way until September of this year. So we do know that they are redoing a lot of scenes for the battle sequences and other sequences that, as we speak right now, over at, of course, Cardington and other areas around the world. So what's really interesting about this is that this is said to be already shot. It was already shot and will be saved as a deleted scene. So this won't be in the final cut of the movie, and it's not going to be, in theaters of what we actually wanted to see. Now, we didn't really hear too much of this scene before in the past, so this is a surprise. And I will say that Episode 9 does have a lot of potential. Regardless, we are getting Luke flashbacks with Leia and other Luke flashbacks that are, disconnected from Leia. And of course, Force Ghost versions of Luke in The Rise of Skywalker. But this to me would have been a very special moment and a nice parallel to the prequel trilogy era. So I would love to hear what each and every one of you guys have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.